Well, hello. How you doing today?
I'm good. Getting, down to the wire on my packing and getting ready for this big adventure that I'm getting
So how
ready.
long are you going to be gone for?
I'm gonna be gone for a little over 4 weeks, so pretty much all the month of August. I leave on
Wow.
the 31st and get back the end of August.
That's going to be fun. Enjoy yourself as you're away. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on in this conversation. But that sounds like a lot of fun. I wish I was doing something like that. We're keeping this summer a little low key because we have this baby on the way.
Yeah.
MJ's birthday is this week, well, Saturday specifically. So we're doing like a little mini party for him for his first birthday, and then the new one's coming in a few weeks after that.
Oh,
So
that's wonderful. Yeah, the kids are adorable. I love seeing them on Facebook.
they are already fighting. The sibling rivalry has because MJ, he knows he's small. He knows he's the younger one, so he tries to be like extra tough and he'll hit and he'll scratch and he'll even try to bite his sister. And he knows better because as soon as I use my stern voice, he stops and he freezes. And if I look at him and I go like this, he'll put his head down. He'll start getting sad. He'll start crying. So I'm like, all right, he already knows right and wrong. I need to start telling him he can't be beating up on his sister.
Yeah, yeah. One day he's gonna be bigger.
All right, I always start off the interviews with this kind of prompt. We're in an elevator. We meet in the lobby. We're headed to the 30th floor, so we have some time, like 30 seconds to a minute. Give me a elevator pitch on Judy Tobin and who she is, what she is, and yeah, go on from there.
Okay. Well, I am retired. I am
Congrats.
and I met you while I was working. So I've been in healthcare administration for 35 years. I'm an accounting background. I'm a finance person, and I am an active person. I've always been an active person. It's a big part of my life, and people who know me well know that I'm always trying to find something else to do. I am about having things in my life that are good and good for me,
Yes.
and not having things in my life that are not good for me. As a retired person, fit and able to do the things that I want to do right now, and that's
Yeah.
really important to me. I have a lot of interests. I say this about myself. I am a jack of all trades, master of none. So the best. I don't like I ski, but I'm not the best skier. I do a lot of different things, and I don't have to be the best at it, but I do a lot of different things. I enjoy doing that.
That's awesome. One of the things that you were kind of hinting on, and I wanted to talk about this, is the fact that you are retired now and you are able to have so much fun and do all these different trips. Is this your second year?
Yeah, I retired June of last year. So
Okay.
it's going on year two. My husband and I do a lot of biking and kayaking, and we camp, and we've taken some wonderful trips, not all the way to the Matterhorn, but up to the base of the summit. And we just got back from a weekend. We did McAfee Knob, so doing a lot of things like that, staying really active, and I am getting ready, as you know, to hike Mount Kilimanjaro, which is a big deal. And I've
Yeah.
been getting ready for that. There's a lot of there's a certain fitness level you really need to have to do it, but it's a
Yes.
lot of it is around your ability to deal with the altitude, and
Yes.
and that you really don't know about until you get there. But I feel,
Until you get
yeah,
there.
yeah. And it was in getting ready for this trip. There's a lot. I mean, all over the internet. There's information about what you need to do to train to get ready for it, and they're talking
Yeah.
about a lot of squats and lunges and things like that. And I was like, I've got that covered.
Yeah, like, yeah, I'm good. I want to dive deep into this because I feel like you, more so than a lot of the other clients of mine that I've interviewed, you're a little bit different in the sense of your age.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people that I'm dealing with right now in person and online in this business. I'm dealing with people who are in their late 30s, their 40s, early 50s, and they're telling me, I'm old, Michael. And I'm like, and I'm laughing at them. And I don't like the O word. And I'm like, well, what do you consider old? Because I have clients that have 10, 15 years on you who are very active, who are strong, who are living a healthy lifestyle. So I don't buy it.
So, I think it's actually, it becomes more important as you age to have that, desire to keep your fitness level up. You know, being in healthcare and working around physicians, like I had an orthopedist doctor tell me one time that when people fall and break a hip, it's not osteoporosis so much that is the issue. It is that there is no muscle around the bones to
Mm,
keep it strong enough. So they break. But if you had good muscle around your bone, it would be less likely to break.
yeah.
And I always just kept that in my mind. And I preach that to my friends and my family that you really have to keep your muscle. It's important as you age to keep your muscles fit. And the only way you're going to get that is through some level of weight training or body weight training. Like it doesn't even have to be weights, but you gotta be doing that stuff. So I think that's really important. I think you got to look at what your goal in life, and my goal in life is to not live a sedentary life. I mean,
Yeah.
I still have a lot of things I want to do. I'd like next year to hike some in Nepal. It's what satisfies me, being able to go and experience all these different things. So I think that, you've got to have that mindset as you age of, I can do this better. If I keep doing this, I will do it better. It's not even just maintaining either, it's
Yeah.
actually improving. When we started working out together, a boot camp session would really, like I would get really tired. I could be sore the
Yeah.
next day and all that kind of stuff. And now I'm really proud of the fact that a lot of days I will do a taped one because I
Yeah.
want to try to do more days. And
Yeah.
my recovery is quicker. I generally am not sore at all. I'll start it and say, well, if I can't do it all, that's fine. I do it all. There's no
Yeah.
issue. And I've always said that. I mean, if you just go in saying, I know, oh, I'm not going to be able to do it, you don't not do it, you do it, and you do
Yeah.
it to, and then once you start, you're kind of like, oh yeah, this is fine, I can do it. So I feel like I've gotten stronger and more toned, and I think like my arms look more fit, my shoulders look more fit, I look better, and I think that I have gotten stronger, and I think you have to think that way too, that it's not just I'm trying to keep a level of fitness, but continuing to improve my fitness.
Of course. And that's so important, especially when you're talking about a process that should be a lifelong process. Like that's how we should look at fitness, as something that is like ever going, that's growing, that's not just a 30-day this or a 60-day that, right? It's kind of like a journey that, takes some time. And if your mindset is one of that, that's I'm looking to get better, that's a little more exciting. That's a little more motivating than I'm looking to just not lose and not gain. I'm looking to just be stagnant. No one just wants to stay in the same place for forever.
Right,
That's that. So
right.
if your mindset is I want to improve, and you do have markers that you're watching, and those markers are improving, and motivates you.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can do burpees a lot better than I used to. It
Yeah.
freaks me out as much.
I was about to actually mention that. That's in my notes. It's like, whenever we do those prompts and it's like, all right, we got to get like 4 burpees in 20 seconds or even like 5 speed burpees in 20 seconds. I always look up and Judy, you're one of the first people done in the class. So I'm like, there you go. So no one can tell me, no 20-some-year-old, 30-some-year-old can tell me, oh, I can't do burpees. I'm like, nope, nope, that
Oh,
is not
yeah.
true.
And it's so funny sometimes when you do like, okay, we're going to do 4, I'm kind of like, just
4. Just 4.
yeah. And I tell people like I try to get some of my friends to do this to me, and this is what I say: if you are doing a class, if you're doing something, and it
Yeah.
is that easy for you that you don't have some challenge for doing the whole thing, then that's not the right class. That's not the right thing for you.
Yes.
This should make you feel like you put effort into it, and it should be challenging. Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's not a lot of reason to do it. Right.
Yeah. And there won't be
So,
much progress if it's
right.
not.
Right. And with this, I mean, like, I would still feel tired at the end, or like, oh my gosh, that was a great workout. It was a challenging workout. But if I did them and I didn't feel some level of exertion, I shouldn't do it. I should find something else to do. You know?
Yeah. You would
Yeah.
almost feel like you wasted your
Right.
time.
Right. So you should feel challenged and maybe not be able to do everything the way that in your mind you think you should be able to do it.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah, I truly believe that. All right. So I want to backtrack a little bit because nowadays with my clients, there's some clients that I've met off of YouTube, some clients that I've met off of Facebook, Instagram, all these different places, just off of the website on with an inquiry on our website. But our relationship is a little bit different because I know you IRL in real life, as the young people say. So let's talk about that. I want, because to be honest, I don't remember specifically exactly the day that we met, but I do remember it was obviously because I was running as a manager in one of the newer clubs that ACAC built when I lived in Charlottesville, Virginia.
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk to me about that.
So I had been going to ACAC for a long time, really, and then they built the one across the road from the hospital where I worked,
Mhm.
and it was I was working out in the morning, and I'm a person that works out in the morning because I always found that 6 o'clock in the morning nobody's competing with your time.
Yes.
You could, and that was always like, all right, this is the time for me to do this because nobody else wants you at 6 in the morning. So I saw that there was a sign up there about the boot camp and Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I was very intrigued by that, and I thought it would be a lot of fun. So I think I asked you about it and just said, hey, tell me about this class. And yeah, it's going to be Tuesdays, Thursdays, 6 o'clock. It's perfect for me. Had enough time to shower, get back over to work. And so, so I took it a time or two and I came home to my husband. I start doing this every week. This is awesome. This is great for me. And so that's how we kind of got started together. And it was great. I loved your style. I liked the way that you taught the class. It was a good, challenging class. There's cardio, there's strength, there's that whole thing that when you think about what a boot camp should be, it was all
Yeah.
the things. And I really enjoyed it. And I do remember like starting out going like, this is really great. It's a challenging class and
That
enjoy.
is so awesome. That had to be 2017.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was right around, it was soon after it opened, and it was pretty much as soon as you started offering those classes. So
Yeah,
like you were,
like
it was going to
right
start.
towards the end of 2017 into
Yeah,
2018.
yeah,
Yeah, because that's
yeah.
when my daughter was born. Um, yeah, so one of the things I remember with you specifically right away, I remember you worked at Sentara, the hospital across the way, and I remember thinking like, oh, she is tough. She is tough. She's like, she is coming both days. She never misses. Like she's always like, what's like the next challenge? If the weight is too light, she's grabbing heavier weight. I'm like, okay, okay. So one of the things that ended up happening is you kind of became like this almost like this magnet to for the other Sentara people. And I ended up meeting Jonathan through he was like, yeah, someone is over here. They said I should come over here and check this place out. And then I started training Jonathan too, which was awesome. Talk to me about, because one of the significant parts about our workouts at ACAC, in that time frame was all of a sudden 3 years later, we're still training. But then the pandemic happens, right?
Right.
So we get kicked out of the clubs, and actually, I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna backtrack. I said 3 years later, like that's not a significant thing. I read in some of my readings last month or so, 2 months ago, that the average trainer client relationship is 3 months. Three
I would,
months. So I just said 3 years later, like that's like a average thing or a common thing. So we've been training for a long time up until that point, right? So we've been training a long time. 2020 comes around, we're forced to shut down the club, and we all had our concerns about health and everything. But one of the other concerns a lot of us had was, wait, we want to still stay active. And I had so many different people because that was on my mind, and I didn't know how a lot of people felt. But I look at my email, I look at my messages, I have everyone ask me, so coach, like, what are we gonna do? And one of the things I said was, you know what? If you guys don't mind, we'll mask up. I'll bring disinfectant, I'll bring wipes, but if you don't mind, we'll work out and we can meet outside the club and we can still work out, and we would run around the hospital campus. Do you remember that? So talk to
yeah.
me about that. Do you
Yeah.
remember that was
Oh,
a weird 3 months or 4 months or so?
I think we did it for longer than that, but it was one of the, it was funny because when they said they were closing down the gym, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I've come to rely on this thing. And it was great when you told me, hey, if you guys want to, this is what we can do. We'll do it outside. And we had a couple people with us. It was great. It was a lot of fun. It actually was a lot of fun doing it outside. And I really appreciated that we were able to continue doing that. When you started doing your virtual,
Yeah.
so wait a minute, I have to tell you. So that was a big impact on my life that you were like thinking, oh my gosh, she's not going to do this anymore. And then being, all right, here's the solution to this problem of the gym
Yeah.
being. And then when you told me you were going to move, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And then you said you're going to do these virtual classes, which are awesome because I just work out in my house right now, and that you were adding Saturday. And so I could
Hmm.
do it 3 days a week. So it's all worked out really well for me. But like I am a a habit forming person. Okay.
Yes.
So and it's I'm not the grass is greener someplace else kind of person either. Like
Yeah.
I feel like I was consistent with I've been married to the same guy for 36 years. I had
Hmm.
a job at Martha Jefferson for 30 years. I've been in the same house for 30 years. I'm more like, this is something that I enjoy doing. I do a lot of other different things, but it met the needs that I had. It's
Hmm.
different, every class is different. It focuses on different aspects, cardio, maybe upper body, lower body, or something like that. And so I was always getting what I wanted out of it. So it was really easy for me to just say, this is what I
This is
do.
my thing.
This is my thing. And I think that is, it's somehow or another how you personally commit yourself to it and make it what you do in your life. I think habit and consistency, it's just that is the key. It's the important thing. There is no question about it. You show up at 6 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays and 9 o'clock on Saturday, unless I am out of town doing something else. And
Yeah.
because that is what you do, and there's no question about it. This
Yeah.
is the time that you have to do these things, and you don't let anything else get in the way of it, and then it becomes something that you do, because I've been doing this now since 2017. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
7 years now. It's a long time. And one of the things you said that's I feel like is very important is the perfect balance, perfect in quotations, of something that has variability, but something that's also consistent.
Right.
And I feel like you definitely need both for a long-term successful health and fitness lifestyle or routine. What I tell people is you definitely need consistency. You need consistency to grow, to have enough reps that you get better at something, to have enough stability in a program that you know that this is the thing, right? Because it takes thinking out of it. Sometimes we overthink things, and sometimes we think our way, around or past things. So you need that consistency in the program. But then you also need variability too, because if you're doing the
Right.
same exact thing all the time, it could lead to overuse injuries. It could lead to boredom, right? So you do need some variability to make it fun and enticing. And so that's why I try to style the training, and resilience the way it is. One, for longevity. I don't think I've had anyone hit me up with like any kind of major injury from what we're doing, which is super important to me because I'd rather you have a slower progress and stay consistent because you're not injured than try to like chase progress and then do something where we like get injured and we have to stop training. So that's the one thing I look for like that consistency that we don't get injured. And then the other thing I'm looking for is that you have fun in this process as well. We're not just training just to be able to lift the dumbbell over our head, but we're training so, we can go hiking, so we could, pick up our children and do whatever. So, I think that those two things are super important, what you talked about. And that habit building, that's what I do in my one-on-one program. That's basically me trying to recode people to build these habits, hold them accountable to do these behaviors so they can build the habits. And it's very difficult for some people, the way that they've pre-perceived what fitness is. Fitness is me wearing the like fitness clothes. You got to wear a matching top and bottom, matching sneakers. I got to go to a gym. I got to take this class. I got to use these machines. People kind of make fitness so ceremonial, right? But the way you've described fitness, it kind of just blends into your life. So talk to me a little bit about that. One of the
Yeah.
things that you've said I've talked to you before on a little mini interview, and one of the things you said, like, roll out of bed, grab my coffee, go downstairs, right? So I don't want to say your whole
Yeah.
story, but go ahead and tell me how like
That's
fitness
it.
fits into your life.
It is the secret to it is just show up.
Hmm.
Okay. It is show up. No matter if you feel like doing it or not, once it gets going, even if it's I would think to myself, and there are days where I'm kind of like, oh, I don't really feel like doing it. But I know I'm like, oh, I can go lighter on the weights or I can do this. But then you get in and you start doing it and you're fine. Okay.
Yeah.
But it just it's really about so many things too. It is showing up. All right. And that's 85% of the challenge
Yeah.
is getting out of bed and getting there. And I do think it's so much easier to do that when you're working out at your own house.
Isn't it?
It is, yeah, there's a lot of excuse for it. I mean, it
Yeah.
was, when I was going to the gym to meet you, I can't tell you how many times I forgot shoes or I forgot, my I'd left my suit hanging in my closet instead of bringing stuff with me. I mean, there was all so this is this is so easy. It's so much easier.
Yeah.
So nice. I mean, it makes it so very perfect. But I think people like you're talking about, they they put too much into it of what they think what you have to do to just get started. I mean, put the video on or the Zoom on, and that's 85% of it right there.
Yeah. I had a coach once say, in a practice that we had, it was my freshman year. I'm at the University of Delaware, and he tells everyone, we all do our warm-up drills. We do it together, but we're all like spread apart by position. And then at the end, we all come in and we have to come in and he says whatever, whatever the theme is for the day, does the, quick rah, 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 and sends us on our way. In this particular practice, he said, come on in, come on in, come on in. We're supposed to, clap and blah, blah, blah. And he just wasn't satisfied with the energy. So he said, no, 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 that's BS. Go back to your sidelines and come back in like you mean it. And, but this time everyone's kind of being a little facetious and like, oh, yeah, yeah. And they're clapping and they're being all, extra. And he said something and that it stuck with me. And he said, even false enthusiasm works. False enthusiasm works. And that's one of the things that, early morning, 6 a.m., not a lot of people want to be up, right? But once you hear the music, once you hear, Coach Mike, it's like, come on, guys, we got it, blah, 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 blah. You start getting pumped up, right? Your body starts warming up. You can start getting the cobwebs out. And like you said, all of a sudden the heart rate section's done. You're like, all right, I can do this. And then all of a sudden, section one, circuit one is done. And you're like, oh, it's just one more section. All of a sudden, you're done the
Yeah.
workout, right?
Yeah.
And the mental aspect of it, it's huge. Like you saying, sometimes you won't feel like it, do it anyway. I feel one of the things I say often, not only to my fitness clients, I say especially to my sports performers, like my kids who are coming up playing sports, I say, your mind, your mindset is a muscle too. And when you have situations where you don't feel like you could do it, and then you do it, that's almost like having that bench press rep where you didn't feel like you could do it, and then you squeezed it out, like you're building that mental strength. Um, so that's one of the things that also I feel like kind of goes underrated is the mental aspect of I can do this because my fitness journey has so much less barriers to entry, right? I can do this workout in my home and get a good
Right.
full body workout. So, all right, I can do this. That's like a mental thing. You're pumping yourself up. All right, even when it comes to our specific type workout, like that virtual fitness boot camp, 20 seconds, right? A 20-second set. You're thinking in your mind, all right, I can do 20 seconds. It's that self-talk, right? And all of a sudden you're done. And all that positive self-talk that has been directly rewarded afterwards, that just builds up like a kind of mental strength that you can say with a straight face, I'm about to hike the tallest peak in Africa, right? Some people can't do that. Some people can't do that just period. Some people can't even say that with a straight face that they're going to attempt that. And you're saying it with a smile on your face, not just a straight face, a smile on your face. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, when it comes to your fitness journey, kind of backtracking a little bit, because I know we met in 2017, but you were doing stuff prior to that. So
Yeah.
let's talk about your fitness journey and how it's evolved over time.
Okay. So when I started running at about 25, when I hit about 25, and that really helped me. I was a little overweight. I had the clarity at the time to be able to say, I'm 25 years old. If I don't get some good habits in my life now, I will never get them. So I started running, and it was one of those things. It was like in the morning, I would have the time. I've generally been an early riser. It was hard for me to have fitness after work. There was too many things. Somebody would want to go out, or you would, I was too I would be like, I'm too tired, or I had to work
Mhm.
late or something like that. And so I just found that if I did it first thing in the morning, I had less interruptions to that schedule.
Yeah.
So, so I started that, and I would say I think I met my fitness goals as far as I got fit as far as losing weight went. I think it was the right thing for me to do at that time, but I definitely overran, and I had some issues with my feet and my back from it. At that time, it was the right thing, I think, for me to do. And then I started working out in the gym. I will say, I think people need to really be aware of the fact when you're like some of these classes where people, the instructor's not really watching what's going on with them. I mean, I hurt my shoulder in doing some of those classes. I think were not properly supervised or managed, with the
Hmm.
client. That's one of the things I always appreciate, even online with you. I mean, you're looking at what people are doing,
Hmm.
and even now you'll be like, hey Judy, do it like this or something like that, and it makes a difference. And you can, even when you're not doing it right and then you start doing it right, you're like, oh yeah, I can tell the difference. I mean, I really have not heard anything, I haven't had any injuries to speak of throughout this whole thing. These things are really important. Just be careful about these big group classes that,
Yeah.
might help you commit to doing something. But under a lot of circumstances, I mean, I look back on some of the stuff that I'm like, oh my God, I should never have done that, because I really developed
I
shoulders.
do remember. I remember when we first started out, that's one of the things we were concerned about, like
Yeah.
upper back, shoulder, like a little bit of like unevenness or like weakness on the side. So like one of the things we did was like really try to like whenever we did overhead stuff, we'd go a little bit lighter. Whenever we did like upper back stuff, we were trying to really pull the shoulder blades back. I do remember that. And you don't struggle with any with those things now?
I'm cognizant of it. I think about it, but I don't have the pain that I was having
Good.
before. Like if I strapped a backpack on my back and took a hike, at some point my shoulder was going to start hurting. I took an 8 mile hike the other day with backpack on my back, never hurt. Yeah. Yeah. So it was good.
Awesome. All right, so one of the things I wanted to touch on was the demographic that you're in. One of the number one things that I try to preach is strength training.
Mhm.
But there's still this stigma when it comes to strength training. When I mention resistance training, people think that I'm telling them they have to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? And they think that if they do touch weights, if they do bench presses and squats and deadlifts, and when they hear those exercise names, they get afraid. But what's the message that you would have now that you've trained for so long and you do resistance training? What's the message that you have for people, who are, I don't like the O word, but more mature, especially women? Like, what's your advice when it comes to strength training?
I think it is, as you age, it is more important and it is critical to your body upright, and like having a fall and and having it turn into a break instead of, you get up and move on. It's unlikely that you're going to build big muscles. It's just unlikely, right?
Yeah,
That is not an issue. You can see your muscles and you can
yeah,
see variation in your muscles, and I think it's actually quite attractive. I think it
of
looks great.
course.
Yeah, I mean, it's, the difference between maybe your shoulders and your arms getting kind of flabby. You don't want it to look flabby. This helps with that. It just keeps it more attractive. But you have to have muscle mass, particularly as a woman, to keep your body upright, for your frame to be able to hold you and support you.
Yes. One of the number one things I tell my more mature women, one of the biggest threats is osteoporosis. And one thing that a lot of people don't commonly know is that we build the muscles build stronger tendons, and the tendons build stronger bones.
That's right.
So resistance training more so than cardio, like you said.
Yeah.
Cardio is great for your heart, and we do need strong hearts, yeah. But strength training, especially if you do it in a particular way where we're doing it safely, but we're minimizing rest time, we're maximizing our output, our effort. Strength training will get you some of those cardiovascular benefits, but it'll give you those strength benefits that help us build not only the muscle mass that we were just talking about, but the bone density as
Right.
well. One of the most, I would say, rewarding factors of strength training is just longevity, being
Right.
able to do a bunch of different things later on in life. Um, I have a friend who's a financial advisor. He puts out a bunch of content on social media about, delayed gratification, right? Doing things that maybe are not so fun right now, or you see all these other people going on these trips, that trips, and doing this, that, and the but saving your money in a way that you have enough later on in life so you can really like really really enjoy it, right? Kids are out the house, kids are
Right.
gone, like it's just you, and now you can go and do what you want. But how would it make sense if you are investing your money, but you're not investing in your physical so you can enjoy
Right.
yourself later on? So I want you to talk about that because I feel like that fits you to a T because you know finances, because you are in that stage of your life where you are retired and you're going on these trips and you're doing things and you're a mother too. You had kids, they're gone, they're out the house there. So talk to me about that. Does that sound like reasonable?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that, this is what makes my life richer. And I think when people say, this is what I want to do when I retire, it's never for me been about, well, I just don't want to go to work every day. That was never my idea of retirement. I mean,
Yeah,
it was always going to be some kind of physical activity.
yeah.
So when we travel, I mean, we're going to do some special hikes. We're going to potentially kayaking. When we went to Switzerland and France and Spain. We hiked in every country. We did three biking days where we just went and did some different biking trails that were amazing, and really we hiked in every country, and it was a part
I
of.
remember that trip.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. But that's how we look at it. It's not going, just to go to a museum or to sit and eat in a restaurant or something. A lot of it is, just getting out and seeing the countryside. So I mean, that's when I looked at retirement. My husband and I worked hard for a long time and did that, financially looking at, this is what we want to do when we retire, and traveling and probably more traveling for me. I make my husband go with me, but so, it's I would just I don't see myself being that person who would just be sitting there watching other people do things. I mean,
Yeah,
it is for me, it is it is the most enrichment in my life is to be able to do things and to have different um, experiences in the different
yeah,
places we go to. And I'm fortunate that I believe I have good DNA, but I think also I've worked at it. And it's funny because when I think about going to Kilimanjaro, you helped me get there. Okay,
oh.
you are going with me up that mountain because you helped me.
Well, I I grew up listening to stories about that mountain and stuff because my parents, both of them are from Nigeria. Now that's on the other side of Africa, but like, everyone has their stories about Mount Kilimanjaro. And my mom actually took a high school trip there, and my mom has hiked. There's obviously different levels, so she hasn't gone all the way up, but she even remembers how difficult it was because of the altitude and because like you're treading, your legs are tired, you but one of the things that she said also was, I remember that I also felt really good by the time I was done with it because you just get this, sense of accomplishment when you do these things. And I feel like sense of accomplishment is a really good motivator. Um, Doing tough things and once you're done doing the tough things, it kind of builds up this like self-esteem. Um, so one of the things that I try to preach now, and I'm kind of trying to learn the best way to do it, is teaching people that self-esteem is something that it's kind of like weird once you look at it. It's not about how pretty you are or how many friends you have. Because there's a lot of people who look good and have a lot of friends or have a lot of money and they have low self-esteem. So like where does self-esteem lie? I feel like it lies in challenging yourself or doing something difficult, accomplishing that thing or having some kind of victory in that thing, and then doing it all over again. Right. So if you worked at this particular thing and you got some kind of reward or feedback from it, I feel like that's what builds self-esteem. So that's why, a trust fund baby who has a lot of money, even with the money, won't have that self-esteem as someone who's built up a business and then has that same money, right? Because one just was handed it and one kind of worked hard at it. So I'm still trying to figure out the best, most succinct way to put that into words. But what have you what have you gained in terms of physical gains and progress since we've been working, and like the mental gains since we've been working? One of them might be self-esteem, but you just tell me what you've
Yeah.
experienced.
I think you mentioned something there that I definitely agree with. I mean, like, there is something to being able to say, I did something hard and I was successful at it. And I think for me in the running was when I would start to do races and I would be like, hey, I might get third place in my age group. And or I did a good number of half marathons, and there is nothing. And out of my group, just out of my group that I did the run with, maybe I beat everybody else, and
Yeah.
different ages. I ran with my niece one time on a race, and we were coming up to a hill, and I said, "Come on, let's run up this hill fast and get in front of some of these people." And she said, "You go on, I can't do it." That stuff, like, she's 30, 30 some years younger than me.
Yeah.
And just having that kind of thing that you're like, you can accomplish something that's hard and that most people can't do. And it is like, even just doing boot camp 3 times a week, it's
Yeah.
hard, and
Yeah.
this is what I tell people sometimes too around this, because my friends and my people who I would just not necessarily friends but acquaintances, but still know me fairly well, is this consistency to working out. And I say all the time, I mean, it's an accomplishment that you if it was really, really easy and it wasn't something that you had to feel like, oh, look, I did this thing personally, then you shouldn't do it because it's too
Yeah.
easy. So
Yeah.
it should be hard, and you should be able to, when you're done with it, say, look, I got this done.
Yeah.
And it adds to your sense of knowing that you can show commitment, you can be committed to something,
Yes.
because so many people, like you said, I mean, they just don't have the ability to stay committed to something, and it's
Yes.
something for yourself. And
Yes.
if you can't be committed to yourself, it's going to be hard to be committed to other people, you know.
Yes.
And it is knowing that you can be your best and show up for other people. It helps in that, in knowing that, like, I think it made me a better mother, it made me a better spouse, of doing, I do this for myself, it's a hard thing. I can also, face hard things at work, face hard times
Mm.
in our lives, and it's not, everything is not easy, and you don't turn your back on it, you stay committed to it. And I think it does help, that whole sense of being committed to something.
What you just said is so important. There's no way that you can do that tough workout in the early morning and then get to a meeting at 9 a.m. and have someone like try to walk all over you or be like you're like, what? Like, no, I'm tough. Like, what, are
Yeah,
you serious? I just did, you know,
yeah,
five
that's it.
burpees, 5 burpees in 20 seconds. You can't talk to me any kind of way. Like it builds up a sense of, like
Yeah,
you build up that confidence. And like you said, it makes you a better person in all different parts of your life because of not only the physical gains you get, but like you said, the mental gains and the confidence and knowing that you are investing in yourself and that you're starting to show these soft traits, like commitment, like being able to face something hard. I had a coach who would always say the only way to your goal is through. The only way is through. He goes, you try to walk around it, guess what? This thing is a circle. So you try to walk around it, all of a sudden you're going to end up in the same spot that you started in, right? The only way is through. So when you wake up and you got to go and you got to work out and 6 a.m. and you can't get around it, you just got to go through it. And once you get through it, you're stronger on the other side. And when you've done that process, like you said, 3 times a week, 7 years, that's a long time to build up, confidence, strength, all of those things. Now, physical gains, this is not as, especially when we train at home, sometimes it's not as quantifiable, because, when you go into a gym, you have the luxury of like using a lot of different weights, right? So you can say, oh, now my bench press, PR is this. I've kind of, in my recent maybe being in the past 7 or so years, I've personally got away from a lot of that kind of training. Like I trained for football. I've gotten closer to the way I train. People ask me all the time because they see me like, what workout program do you do? I'm like, I do the same workout program that I create for my clients. Like, no, but like how much are you bench pressing? I'm like, I do mostly push-ups. Mostly push-ups, some dumbbell bench press. My heaviest dumbbells at home, 30-pound dumbbells. They're like, no way. Look at I'm like, yes way. And that's how I'm able to stay injury free. And that's how
That's
I'm able to stay strong enough because I'm not training for football anymore. I'm training for life. So one of the things that one of the things that is tough to do sometimes when training at home is have some kind of quantifiable, oh yeah, I'm stronger because I could do more weight. But I feel like there's other ways to quantify how strong you've gotten. So have you had any like strength gains, or is there anything in particular that you could point to? Like these are physical gains that I've received since we've been training?
Yeah, oh yeah. I think the ability to do those five or whatever uh however many burpees and not be as winded as I used to be. That is
Yeah,
one. And I think too, like the number of push-ups I can do, and I can do, I can do some of them not on my knees, and but I do think doing. I mean, it's really kind of interesting. I used to always think, oh, you should not do push-ups on your knees, but now I'm like, you can do push-ups on your knees and get a lot of
yeah,
on your chest. And quite honestly, I'm not like, I don't have to say, I don't think I look at it that way. Like I'm only gonna do it if I see gains. So I don't really concentrate on it. Now that you say that though, I'll have to start thinking about it. But I think it's just like doing it, doing a workout and feeling less worn out by it, or just
yeah,
I think a lot of it is too is like when I would do a workout the next day I could feel it probably a little bit more, and
yeah.
now like it is
Your recovery is
yeah, my recovery is quicker on that,
yes,
and that kind of thing, and maybe being able to go up some weights, but I don't even think that's as important as doing the extra exercise correctly, like doing a lunge
yeah,
and actually, like when you say I um, kiss the floor with your other knee, and
yeah,
that's hard, and that
yes.
if you're doing that, that's more important than how much you're
How heavy you went
yeah.
or how fast you went. Yes, you're exactly right. And guess what? Doing it that way is going to build the strength that you're going to need climbing that mountain. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? That range of motion, that being able to get deep in those movements and open up your hips and flex your quads. Oh, yeah. I truly believe that. I was just having a conversation with the guy at the gym, and I was kind of poking fun at him, and we've talked back and forth before then, so it wasn't our first interaction, so I was able to do it. But he was rushing through these reps on his bicep curls, and he was kind of swinging into them. And poking fun at him, I said, "Why are you doing bicep curls?" And he, poked at me, and he goes, "So I can get my arms looking like you." And I said, but hear me out on this. If you want to build up your biceps, right, we need more time under tension on those biceps. So you might as well slow those reps down, right? Because building your biceps is like building a relationship. You're not going to build a relationship because you have a few good moments with someone. You're going to build a really good and strong relationship if you have, they don't have to be significant moments, but just more moments, right? Even just sitting down in the room and chatting every few minutes, you're doing your thing, I'm reading a book, right? But you're spending time, right? So you might as well go lighter and go slower. And he was like, anything you say, if my biceps are gonna look like that. And he put the heavy weight there and he grabbed the load. But my thing is this, like, why are we doing the exercise in the first place? Are we doing it to build strength? Are we doing it to all right? So if we are doing it for those reasons, why rush through the reps and do bad reps then? Why don't we do the good reps so we can get the benefit that we're looking for in the first place? So yeah, I feel like that's built into a lot of our training, and that builds something that is called muscle endurance. And muscle endurance is better for life, right? Even for a lot of my athletes who come from a more like traditional old school type of training, when they do training with me, one of the things I focus on, lighter weights, because sports is not about how strong you are in the first quarter. How strong are you in the fourth quarter,
Right.
right? How's the longevity is what matters most, not only for like the sport itself, but also to help prevent injury, to help prevent you losing strength later on in the season when you're not, in the weight room as much because you're in season. Um, One of the things that I think is really amazing to watch right now as we watch the Olympics is our US men's basketball team. LeBron James is the one who looks head and shoulders above everyone else. He's the
Right.
oldest one on the team. And his greatness, even though, people compare Michael Jordan to him, let's say his peak of greatness wasn't as high as Jordan in the time that Jordan was in the NBA, but his peak of greatness is spanned so long that he's now going to be playing with his son on the
Yeah.
same professional that is
I,
unheard of.
it's my, I
and
know. I
and it
know.
starts off with longevity,
Right.
being able to stay, like he had a few injuries here and there, but for the most part been almost injury free. And one of the things that he does is he takes care of his body. He has a trainer, he has a nutritionist, he has a recovery program. They said, like, I think the number was like something crazy like $350,000 on his body and recovery alone, like, and his nutrition. And but one of the things I tell people when like looking at that example is I would rather you be consistent than be great. Like if I'm a coach, I have a great player who has flashes, but when he's not flashing, he's not in existent. I'd rather have that solid good player who is consistent, who I know I can depend on. I'd rather have that player because I
Yeah.
know I can know that they will be where they need to be. They might not make the best or the greatest play, the most flashy play, but I know they will be consistent because then I could work with that. Like as a
Right.
coach, then I could tell them, all right, I need you to do this a little bit of that, and maybe like if I give them a little pep talk there, maybe they'll rise above it. But I know they'll be consistent. I can live with consistent. So
Yeah.
same thing with the fitness journey. If you are consistent, you don't have to be so great. You don't have to chase this, chase that. And I feel like that's, going back to what you said in the very beginning about jack of all trades, right? Doing a little bit of this fitness, doing a little bit of that fitness, doing a little bit of like power movements, doing a little bit of cardio, core, a little bit of upper body, a little bit of lower body. we get some mobility like type exercises where we're doing windmills and stuff like that. We do some, Olympic style movements where we do our snatches, and then we also do some core movements where all we're doing is planking and we're doing plank variations. So, sprinkle a little bit here and there, and I feel like you have the balance that, kind of prepares us for all situations that life brings at us.
You change it up, it's fun, it's going to be different. I could be doing deadlifts, just like deadlifts in the gym, but
Yeah.
you must do those one-legged ones with
Oh yeah.
all in there. And so, it's kind of interesting. I mean, it's like it's a nice changing, different someday, and then some days you'll throw in there like we're going to do this big lower body workout, and we'll do some up and a big upper body strength, and then the next day no weights, or the next time maybe you do these no weights, and it's a
Yeah.
surprise fun different thing to do. So it changes. The other thing I will tell you too, I know that on those days that you expect to see me, it's like, well, Michael's going to show up at 6 o'clock. I need to show up. So it's like, it's like, if I don't show up, it's going to be because I'm not here, or like I couldn't do it because I'm someplace else.
Yeah.
But I will do I need to show up for Michael too. He'll be disappointed.
That is awesome. I appreciate that. That's how I feel too. That's a good relationship when you both people feel the same way like that.
Yeah.
I I truly believe that even having a coach is great. Having a fitness coach, a trainer, it's great because it's going to keep you accountable. But the number one thing is you're going to get pushed closer to your potential with a coach. I tell people, even if you don't have a coach, even if you just have a person that is going to be there, even that will push you further than just yourself.
Gives you more accountability.
Gives you more accountability, even if that person, even if you're stronger than that person, even though that person, can't compete, just the presence of them being there, you're not gonna cut. You're not gonna cut corners. You're not gonna take shortcuts. You want to prove that, all right, I am definitely stronger. Or you want to prove, if they're the stronger one, you want to prove that I'm not too far behind you, right? So having that person there, having that person that you can depend on, it's so important for consistency, and consistency is like the number one ingredient for this whole thing. So I had another question for you that's not really related to anything that we were just talking about, but in terms of what you want to do moving forward with all these like trips that you're doing. We mentioned Mount Kilimanjaro. I want you to just kind of like highlight some of the fit type things that you've done lately and that you're about to do. And I kind of want to just like make a list of these things because you've done so much. I've every time you take a trip, I'm like taking account of it. I'm like looking to see you like post videos or pictures from it. But tell me about what you've done recently and what you're planning to do in detail.
So I've gotten kind of out of posting stuff on Facebook, but I have a lot of my friends who are saying, you gotta post this stuff on Facebook because we love to see what you're doing.
We want to live vicariously through you. That's what's
yeah. So a couple weeks ago, my husband and I did the Virginia Creeper Trail. We rode both ways, and a lot of people will just go from there's like one of the sides. It's a little bit more all downhill, and most of the people do it from that side. We did both ways. It's 34 miles one way. So we did that this year in preparation for Kilimanjaro. I did Old Rag again. I have done White Oak.
I love that. I love Old Rag.
Yeah, which is it's a good challenging hike. It's a premier hike on the East Coast. McAvee Knob we just did. After 18 years of not skiing, I went back and started skiing 2 years ago. We went this past winter and spent 6 weeks out west skiing. And then we're getting ready. We'll go back out again this coming year. I mean, that was, it was something to put that back in our lives. We just
Yeah.
really added doing it. Our kids played winter sports and we just got away from skiing. And then we made this decision. My youngest son moved out to Denver and we were kind of like, hey, let's start skiing again.
How did that go?
It was great. It was great. Yeah. It's like anything else. If you do it right, it's less dangerous than if you do it
Oh
wrong.
yeah, of course.
Yeah. But exhilarating. I was really invigorated by it and and liked, I mean, we had a good enough time and did well enough on it to go back and do it again. And I did not grow up skiing. I learned to ski as an adult. So it's really rewarding. And I'll tell you, I mean, that's the other thing too. I mean, having the muscle strength in my legs and the things that I've done it when we do those skaters, those speed skaters, that's
Yeah.
a that's a great thing to do when and kind of training for skiing and lunges and things like that. I don't get sore. So
That's
I think
good.
that, yeah, that's really good. Uh been doing a lot of kayaking. My husband and I a couple weeks ago took we had stand-up paddle boards. We went out camping and took our stand-up paddle boards down the James River, and I can jump up on that stand-up paddle board.
People don't understand how difficult that is. Not
Yeah,
only like do you need
yeah,
the mobility to be able to like, go from like the bottom kneeling position like back up. You need the leg strength, you need the core strength.
right.
Some people get up there, they're like,
Yeah. So I think that, those things we're doing, the things that we enjoy doing. Now, in the future, I want to get some more of these big hikes in, particularly while I know I can do it. I'm going on this trip with one of my sisters and a good friend of mine. And I don't know. I mean, I think most people, or I know I do this. I think a lot of people do it as like on this trip that I'm getting ready to do Kilimanjaro. We will have time to sit around and talk about the next trip. So
yeah.
before I come back from this trip, I will be planning my next.
Planning the next one. So
And
which sister is this one? The one in Charlotte?
yes, the one in Charlotte, and she's very good. She has a little bit different outlook and fitness regime, but she should be able. I expect her to be able to do this, but she's really on her very committed to her fitness as well.
Hmm.
So this I think it'll be great to do this with people that are a part of my life already,
Yeah.
and we've been working on this. We've been doing this together, and and I'm really looking forward to it. And this will be, we've all done this. I mean, they're going to tell us whether at some point, if they don't think that we should go up to the top, they're not going to let us go. I mean,
Yeah.
it's dangerous to go up if you're having issues with breathing or your oxygen, though, or altitude sickness. But I feel that I am prepared.
Yeah. I know you are. One of the number one things when it comes to longevity, fitness, health, whatever, is being able to put enough stress on your body in a controlled environment that you can take on stress later on in an uncontrolled environment. And so, one of the things I tell people, I'm like, do you know what is the number one killer in the United States? It's some kind of metabolic syndrome or disease, right? Whether it's heart disease, high blood pressure, like what we need to get back to is putting a good amount of stress on our heart, right?
Right.
A good amount of stress, living healthy. It doesn't mean you have to be some kind of health freak where you're running 5 miles a day. I said there was a study recently that I read that said even as little as 20 minutes of intense exercise a day. 20 minutes is not a lot.
Yeah.
20 minutes of intense exercise a day was enough to lower risk significantly when it comes to all those metabolic syndromes. So, putting a good amount of stress on your muscles, you've done that. Your breathing, you've done that. Like you said, you could bounce back from these workouts that are very tough. So, I have full confidence in you. I can't wait to hear your stories. I'm sad I won't see you for a month, but when you when you come back, we will get back with each other. So
Yeah.
on our last note, I want you to give your biggest piece of advice to people who may be in a situation where they're at that crossroads where you were when you said you were 25. Some people don't get to that till 20, 30 years later when they go, oh, shoot, I need to start making healthy habits if I want to do this thing and do it for a long time and have a high quality of life later on in life. So, what do you think would be your biggest piece of advice to those people?
Um, we've been talking a lot about commitment. I mean, you got to commit to yourself. You make this commitment for yourself, not for anyone else. You do it for yourself and make it a habit. And the way you do that is it's kind of like schedule it.
Mm,
That was the thing. I think that helped me get started is that you build your schedule, and if you need to put it on your calendar even to get it
yeah.
started. And if you miss it one time, it shouldn't all fall apart. Get back on schedule. I mean, I think a lot of people, like, they'll say, well, I'm going to do this thing, and the first time they don't do it for whatever reason, then the whole thing falls apart. Instead of saying, that's all right, it was a blip, I'm committed, I'm getting back on my schedule. It's like you commit to your job. You show up at 8 o'clock or whatever time you're supposed to, and you stay
Hmm.
until you're supposed to go home. Commit to yourself. Make this
Yeah.
commitment to yourself. You commit to your kids. You get your kids to their soccer practice the time they're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
So I think it's like we're also geared to to saying it's a schedule and you got to live on the schedule. Put yourself on the schedule too.
Hmm. It's a meeting with yourself. I love that. Awesome. Thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me, Judy. It's always good to talk to you again. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon.
So
When do you leave?
yeah, I leave on Wednesday afternoon. I will be in class tomorrow, and I think I'm going to on Wednesday too. I had kind of late night last night. I was expecting to get up earlier this morning, but I did allow myself to sleep in. This
Class right before you leave. That's
morning.
very much like you, Judy. All
Yeah.
right. I'll see you tomorrow.
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye.